You know those days when you just wake up in the morning and life is sweet? The sun's shining, the sky's blue, and you've got a fantastic day ahead of you? Well, today is one of those days for me, because today I'm going racing in a Viper with a Le Mans driver. And the car I was racing in? The Chrysler Viper GTS R. Yes, the arrival at the 1993 Detroit Motor Show of Chrysler's latest concept vehicle, the stunning-looking Viper GTS Coupe, set quite a few wheels in motion, if you pardon the pun. No more than a design study, Chrysler had no plans for the coupe to even go into production. But the interest it provoked convinced them otherwise, and within a few months of its first appearance, the vehicle was in production. By March '96, the totally gorgeous Viper GTS had arrived, a car to drool over, a car to dream about. And for the Chrysler team, a car to inspire the return to motorsport.
Yeah, Chrysler has been involved in motorsports for all of its history. We're most known in the United States for drag racing, the Hemi-powered cars, and NASCAR racing. But when you look at Le Mans, our history goes all the way back to 1931, and that was actually the last time we raced at Le Mans. Chrysler raced at Le Mans in the 20s through 1931, so it actually was 65 years where we had not been at Le Mans when we arrived with the Vipers this year.
Another thing that Chrysler is well known for is producing some pretty amazing cars, and the Viper is one of them. Did this inspire your return to motorsports?
Well, when we originally did the Viper, it was strictly a concept car, and we actually weren't even going to build the car in production. But people had such an interest in the car, and were actually demanding the car, that the executives decided, well, let's actually try to build this car. And that was maybe, I think, the start of really interesting things at Chrysler.
To join them in their return to motorsport, Chrysler have two racing partners, the North American-based Kanaska Southwind and Team Orica, a French team founded way back in 1973 that has fielded some impressive names, Prost and Alesi amongst them. The Orica team employs 48 full-time staff and is based close to the Paul Ricard circuit in southern France. Orica have competed in Formulas 1, 2 and 3, as well as rallying, desert racing, super touring cars and in global endurance racing. It's the endurance racing that the Orica team and Chrysler are aiming to drive to victory in. And it was during Orica's preparation and testing for next season's championships that I managed to hitch a ride with Philippe and Olivier, two of the team drivers, and take in a few laps of the Paul Ricard circuit in Marseille. Preparation for the season is exhausting and intensive. The two Orica Vipers are monitored over every lap. Teams of engineers analyse the Viper's performance, its engine, the tyres. Nothing is left to chance. Everything entered into computer and analysed to produce the best possible performance from both the car and the driver. And believe me, when you see the preparation and expertise involved in getting one of the Vipers out onto the track, it's quite comforting when you know that you're about to get into one and let a man you've only just met take you to the limit in it, just so he can find out how well his Michelins hold the track. Well, here we are at the Paul Ricard circuit in Marseille, in France. And of course, one thing about France recently is the lorry driver strike. Now, they've been on strike for 10 days, and there is absolutely no fuel in the country. It's unbelievable. And you know this thing? It uses 2 litres of fuel for every lap that it does. What I want to know is, what are we going to do if we run out of fuel halfway around? Because I ain't getting out and pushing. And what a performance this 2-seater Grand Touring Coupe gives. The 8-litre V10 engine produces a stupendous 615 horsepower, quite comfortably powering the Viper to speeds of around 280 kilometres on the straights. Exciting? Well, what do you think? I like to think I've had a full and varied life and done my fair share of thrilling things, but nothing can prepare you for the feelings that a few laps in a racing car can give you. The adrenaline rush is astounding and addictive. The pulse races, your heart leaves your body, and you'll either love it or you'll loathe it. Which was it for me? Well, I have to say, I loved it. Well, I've got absolutely no idea what my heart rate is right at this minute, but I've got to tell you that that is the most exciting thing I've ever done in my life. And I know that life is never ever going to be quite the same again after that? Never.
It's a difficult car to drive because we are at the beginning of the car.
Of the development.
Yeah, of the development, and we have a lot of work to do, but we have a good base. Yeah, and good team, good engineers. I'm sure we'll win races very soon.
Well, there's certainly a good team and good cars, and I've got to say, some very good drivers as well. There are some good drivers. He looked after me so well, and he brought me back in one piece. Thank you very much. As a company, Chrysler has a philosophy of racing what it actually sells. And when they were developing the Racing Viper, they tried to keep it as close as possible to the original GTS. Now, Chrysler's designers and engineers work closely with the Oreca team on development, which is quite unusual for a manufacturer. But by doing this, they believe they can pick up valuable knowledge and information that they can then use in production of their road cars.
For the engineering group to have such an involvement is unusual. Normally, at least in America, motorsports programs are run out of the marketing department. And in this case, it's mostly engineering. And we've got 5 engineers that are full-time on the race car program, and they're right within Team Viper, which is right within Chrysler Engineering. So it's almost a small team within a team. But we also draw on all the resources of the Viper team. So at any time, any of the people in the Viper team can, and they're always willing to help. And we also find that anywhere in the company, people are very enthusiastic. So if we need help in a certain lab to do tests or do design work for us, that everybody within the company is willing and excited to help.
So what are the differences between the Viper road version and the motorsport version?
Well, the main change, and the one that's tough to see, is the body. The body, whereas it looks very close to the GTS body, the race car is made completely out of carbon fiber, and those parts come from Reynard in England. We work with them on the body. The rest of the car was all designed and developed at Chrysler, and the chassis is basically the Viper chassis. The suspension's right off the Viper with slight modifications. The engine, the transmission, all are very recognizable as Viper parts. So the car retains a lot of Viper heritage. And we looked at every part of the car, and if the part would do the job, we would keep it. And if we thought it wasn't up to the job, then we went right to the best racing parts we could get.
The Viper's endurance racing debut was at Daytona in February '96, and it competed for the first time on British soil in September '96 in the Brands Hatch 24-hour endurance race. At the 24 Hours of Le Mans, all 4 Vipers crossed the finish line, giving a Viper its first top 10 finish. Now, these results are made far more impressive by the fact that '96 was really a development year for the Viper.
It was a very quick program from when we actually decided to race the car, and we made our debut at Daytona. And we did have some problems there. But by the time we got to Le Mans, we'd fixed all of our problems. And we finished 3 out of the 4 cars that we raced. And one of them finished in 10th place overall, which was really kind of exceeded our expectations. Our goal was really just to be able to finish the race.
Well, you've had a successful return to motorsports this year. What are you aiming for in '97?
1997 may be some changes. We're looking to drop from the GT1 class down to the GT2 class. When we originally designed the car, we were targeting it more to race against what's the Porsche GT2 evolution. And of course Porsche came out with their new GT1, which sort of obsoleted the GT2. And they moved the GT2 Porsche into the GT2 class. And we'll do the same type of thing. Philosophically, our car is quite a bit different than the Porsche GT1 and even some of the new prototypes that are coming out. So the car really fits better in GT2, and we think that we'll be able to win our class a lot more often, even though at heart we'd still like to be running at the front.
How important was it to you to keep the car as similar to the road version as possible?
Well, it was fairly important to us. There were no real directions or edicts. It all was decided through the design process. And like I said, if the part would do the job, we would keep it. And it actually surprised us how much of the car we kept and how well it did work.
Why is Chrysler involved in all this? Is it purely the publicity and, you know, the whole sort of thing that comes with motor racing? It's got a great image. Is that what it's all about?
Well, Chrysler is filled with a bunch of enthusiasts that really get excited about racing. But when we looked at racing the Viper, we looked at it a little differently. And instead of just doing it purely for marketing, we actually wanted to do a lot of the engineering. And in doing that, Chrysler would learn how to do things more quickly, how to really push the envelope of performance. And also, we think that it'll be an advantage because Chrysler has a lot of engineering expertise that can actually help make the race car better. And what we do is we combine ourselves with the race teams and try to take the best of both. And hopefully that'll be an advantage.
You have quite a hands-on approach, don't you? You are very closely involved. Is that unusual, do you think?
I think so. For the engineering group to have such an involvement is unusual. Normally, at least in America, motorsports programs are run out of the marketing department. And in this case, it's mostly engineering. And we've got 5 engineers that are full-time on the race car program, and they're right within Team Viper, which is right within Chrysler Engineering. So it's almost a small team within a team. But we also draw on all the resources of the Viper team. So at any time, any of the people in the Viper team can, and they're always willing to help. And we also find that anywhere in the company, people are very enthusiastic. So if we need help in a certain lab to do tests or do design work for us, that everybody within the company is willing and excited to help.
Well, after having been around the track today in that car, I can see why they've got that enthusiasm, because it's an absolute blast, it really is. It's one of the best experiences I've ever had. And what about you? Because you have a bit of a history as well, don't you, with motor racing yourself. Are we going to see you behind the wheel of them, do you think?
Well, I would love to jump behind the wheel, but it's real difficult to be running this program and also focus on driving. So I wouldn't want to drive the car unless I could put my full attention to it. We have found a lot of good drivers, and even though I like to drive, I found it's almost easier to hire good drivers than it is to hire somebody that could help run the program. So
you just pinch it for the odd weekend and take it off for a quick secret drive, do you?
Yeah, well, maybe I could get an assumed name and race that way. So.
If the sight of the Team Orica Viper going through its paces here on the track has filled your head with childhood dreams of becoming a racing driver, then it's not that impossible to turn those dreams into reality. If your numbers come up on next week's lottery, for around £200,000 you can order one of these from Chrysler and race it yourself at Le Mans. The one problem there, however, is you can't take it out on the open road. But this one you can. For £62,000, you can order this, the Chrysler GTS, all 10 cylinders of it.